Sorry, did you say something?
And we are live. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Today we've got a lot of people. So, Tio, maybe you want to start and tell
Let's
about
see if
today's session.
everything is working with the audio because we are a lot of people today. So just 1 second to check everything. Okay, seems like everything is working. Okay, so today we're going to talk about technology. And start, let's see, we have Sebastian. Sebastian is dealing with he's making narration, voiceovers for our videos and help with proofreading, and he's making videos from our books. So he's Sebastian. I'm Tio. We are joined by Rafa. Rafa is dealing with the Spanish subtitles for Trom. Johan, I cannot see your video, but maybe in the stream it. Okay, I think disconnected, but Johan is helping with the French translations. He's trying to join in, but he's great. And we have Cody. Cody is helping with decentralizing our videos, putting them on different websites. And Dima, of course. So today we're going to talk about technology and idea to, like, let's transform this into in an interesting way. Let's imagine how technology, how a world post-trade or a world of abundance basically will look like from a technological perspective, like how a day will look like, how transportation looks like, how houses, how building stuff will look like in an automated fashion from a technological perspective. So I'm curious, this kind of story roll down, and what do we see, how do we see such a world unfolding? So if you want, I can start. I was thinking, like, imagine in such a future, you wake up in the morning and then, like, you go through your day, like your house should be automated. You don't need I think I can hear myself.
Yeah, I think Johan, you need to use headphones.
Or just
Yeah,
mute your
but it doesn't
microphone.
work at all. I can leave the chat if that's helping you guys, but when I put the headphones
just mute your
on, it's
microphone.
always stopping.
Yeah, just mute your microphone, and then when you talk, you can unmute it, and I think it's going to work. So I was thinking that if you think about such a society, let's start from the home, because the home is where you spend most of your probably of your time, because this is where you sleep. Maybe most of the time, this is where you eat. This is where you are going to live. Like, maybe in the future you won't spend so much time inside the home. Maybe you will travel, but let's think about the house itself, because we wrote a book called AA World, Automated Autonomous World. So I was thinking, like, from how can we automate this house? Because even today you can make like a smart house to know what time it is, to open the sun blockers, whatever you call those, to maybe prepare your meal or something like that. So what technology, what realistic technologies do you think we can see inside of a home? And I will let you all get involved with this if you want to join my story, and let's see how it goes. If you want to, let's try to imagine how such world will look like, because that's about solutions. That's the solution for our future world in terms of technology.
I'm sure everything will be automated as much as possible, and a lot of work will be done by system and by the robots or any software and programs. Now, let's say like cooking. I mean, we already have today robots who cook food, and there are some restaurants where robots are preparing food. So I think in the future it's also possible maybe you could have some kind of robot at your home who will just cook any food for you. You just type it in kind of application, what dish do you want to have tonight, and he will prepare it.
Do you think it's a cook, or will be something like more automated in the sense that we don't see robot drivers, we see cars that self-drive?
I mean, from what I've seen, it's already today. It's like robotic arms. You know, there could be one or two arms, and they're preparing. They basically mimic the human gestures and the way human cook. I think that could be possible. Also, depends on what future will be. Maybe everything will be so automated that there will be some one kind of robotic restaurant which can serve, you know, the whole neighborhood. So you can just order food and it will be direct delivered to you by some tube post or something like that, like in a minutes.
Yeah, I think Estonia actually has delivery bots like that already that are just delivering food even in the winter right now. You just literally order it and you walk out to this robot that just opens up the compartment for you, and you know that's already a thing happening. So it's and your groceries that can be delivered to your home too.
Because what about is the difference between delivering something and making the food? You know, because the process of making the food could be the complicated part. And I know it's this
That's
kind of
true.
debate, like should we make robots that have hands like ours and try to cook like we do, or rely on machinery that is more automated and we don't need like replicate the human body? What do you guys think? What do you know about this topic?
I know they have. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Go
Timo.
on.
So the same kind of robots they have delivering food right now, and like hot food and like restaurant food and stuff. They actually have a pizza bot they're working on that's supposed to like basically make your pizza be out there on the streets and make your pizza basically while you order it and while it's like making its way to you, kind of thing. So there's already, I guess, that. But I think you would need just like an Android kind of robot trying to do like a generic code to be able to do like kind of like basic multiple human tasks, as opposed to like, you know, just kind of the arms for cooking or whatever. But they do have that new 2-armed robot that's has like 2 different utensils. So gripping is a very complicated thing for robots to do. So they now has like a suction cup and a grabber, which enables it to, you know, grab all kinds of different things now. So I think you'll see more of like a generic use robot, kind of like combination Roomba cooking robot slash general conversation in your house kind of thing. A personal assistant.
Also, I think it depends on the scale. If we will be producing like mass producing, let's say it's a kind of restaurant with the option to delivery everywhere, then probably it might look like a factory today where everything is more like automated and there are some processes going and basically like a conveyor belt. Yeah, when there are a lot of mechanisms doing some simple task. But if it's in your personal home, in your flat, then probably yeah, it's just some robotic arms or kind of personal robot or something like that.
Yeah, I think it will depend on the culture of the moment, because we need to eat, but we use in different contexts the way we eat. For example, maybe if it's an expedition, I don't know, you don't need, for example, a robotic arm if it's more how do you say, suitable to transport another system that provides food. If you need, for example, just on an extreme situation, or I don't know, it depends on the efficiency, and I'm not a technician, but I would say that we will have, if not a lot, but we will try many different possibilities. No, that's the one of the things that we can try to explore, and not just to take advantage of others. So the designs will serve more than just getting the attention of people or claim their cultural background and stuff like that. You know, if you know what I mean. And I was very curious about what you say at the beginning too, because I think maybe in the future we don't spend so much time in a house as we understand today, because today for me is the cheapest way to survive in the system that's why I spend so much time at home, because it's cheaper for me to buy my food. And here in Spain, for me, it's cheaper. In other countries, maybe it's cheaper to buy already the food outside and cook yourself. I don't know. In some Asian countries, I think it's cheaper to not buy and cook yourself. But I think that's the way we, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just my projections, but we spend a lot of time because of we are, I don't know how to say, constrained or attached by these barriers, no? Because I need a few things to get along and do the things that I want. But if I could, I wouldn't stay at home so much time, because it's internet connection and maybe some privacy, or at least to sounds, because if what I need. So I don't want to stay at home, but can move more free. I don't know how to say, have more options, because we have today to move and go to libraries or something like that. But from reading about how Wi-Fi works and stuff like that, I'm suspicious to connect now. This is where this about reading the last book Theo wrote, and the origin of most problems. And okay, that's some ideas I wanted to share.
No, I think that's actually a good point in terms of when you take a subject like cooking and viewing it a little bit from a futuristic angle. I don't know, because you could say, yeah, for sure, everyone would have those two arms in their kitchen in the future potentially, but like you said, that depends as well on whether or not this concept of everyone just having their own little house, a little space is gonna be the future, whereas they might be like you said, like Dimas as well said, centralized production systems that then provide food autonomously to the neighborhood. Or you can just go out and maybe you'll have a more direct connection with your food and see how it's grown hydroponically and so on, and then you eat where it is produced and so on. So there are many different things in that regard, and the question of home certainly will shift dramatically as well in the future, depending on the city structure and if we head towards a trade-free world. I think it would be mainly maybe like the tools to which the efficiency of cooking or of ascertaining what it is you want might be reduced. Yeah.
Yeah, because in the future, would you have a kitchen in every home? Maybe you won't have a kitchen
Yeah.
in every home, like you won't have a steering wheel in every car.
Yeah.
It's not a necessity in a way. Today, we are used to this idea, but maybe in the future, you will not even consider that as being a thing of a home. Because even today, if you look at it, they are moving more and more towards automation. Go into any store, any supermarket, and pretty much everything you see there is made in an automated fashion. People, even when they cook at home, they take the ingredients, even those vegetables, they are picked up probably, if at least in some countries, in automated fashion and distributed in automated fashion. So even when you cook at home, you cook with ingredients and even with recipes that are more or less automated, or the recipes, maybe instead of you cooking those recipes, I was thinking maybe a specialized robot can do that, not maybe with the hands like a human being, but being able to sort the ingredients exactly like you wanted and make a dish. And you can maybe even add to that, maybe recipes will be like this open source kind of recipes, and everyone can create their own recipes, and then they can create a variety, because many people are afraid that, oh, you want to automate the food in our life, the what we eat, and then we make the same kind of dishes, and it's so boring for a robotic world. But I see it completely differently. I see it a way to maybe create lots new dishes, like the same way that you create a program and you can share with people online, like a free and open source, and others can put to it and make it better or make it different. In the same way, in the future, maybe I don't see it so unrealistic to create a recipe for something, share it online, others add to this recipe, they create something new, maybe something better, something more interesting. you know. And if you can transpose that into the real world through robots, to automation, that can be a way to create diversity and not just a boring automated kind of.
Come on, maybe we will all have 3D food printers, you know, and that will be the same as that. You just download the recipe and it just print it out, you know, in a few seconds for you.
Yeah, maybe through
nanotechnology. Yeah, it depends. It's
something
main technologies.
Like that
Now, also, if we're speaking about food, and not only food, but in the future, I'm sure everything will be kind of zero waste, without any waste in design. Like design in such ways so the goods don't have waste. Like today, we deal with waste by recycling and trying to composting and do stuff. But in the future, probably. The whole production will be built in such way so we don't have to deal with rubbish anymore. I mean, even today with organic waste, it's possible to produce biogas and, let's say, to heat up the stoves or whatever, what's not. So I think in future we won't have such problems as waste, like plastic pollution and everything we've got today.
And the fact that we have to today take the food, take it into our homes, and then try to manage it, like for how long would this food last, and then you can never manage it properly. You will throw away lots of food because the system relies too much on people. You should not rely that much on people. Like imagine if the foods are ready to eat meals, and people can mix them up and make like a custom pizza or a custom sandwich or a custom dish and get delivered to you. I don't know how, through robots like Cody explained, or you have a kind of a 3D printer or a mix of technology home that it can build that for you. Then you can print or create exactly like what you eat. I think it will create less waste in that sense, because you know exactly what this automated system will create for you, and you will just eat that thing instead of me trying to the fridge and then trying to see, okay, the ingredients, how much do I need for how long, and food will expire and I have to go to buy again and blah blah blah.
I won't see
Maybe that
a problem in central those systems of, if not providing food, but the waste. How do you treat to not generate waste, as Dima said? And because what you said is I agree that we don't need to rely so much on humans, no. So for I see advantage in centralizing those systems, because I think it will be more efficient, but I'm not sure.
Both centralizing and having a way to put your own on fingerprint on whatever it is, food or toys or software, because you cannot create a world people create the food or create the software, you have to leave people get involved as well. So in the same way that in an open source software, I too, if I learn new stuff and I can add to the system, in the same way you have to do with food. Like majority of people probably will eat from the automated centralized kind of way, but they will also have means to cook their own food.
I was meaning maybe kind of when I meant centralized, I was also meaning that people could also, in a sense, as you say, I understood that because maybe people understand centralized as not being capable of collaborating, but if we understand the fast technology, and the capability of creating changes or providing improves to the system, we should be able to do that. It's one of the things that I think we try to promote. So maybe it's a kind of semantic thing, but I don't know. Maybe in large populations, it's more efficient, and yes, we can try to design newer systems that are better, because it will be constantly changing. I think if we try to you know, how you say, prepare things to be updated. Now we have a lot of problems to update, and people try to update the cities or make the buildings more greener, but I don't think that it won't solve in the long term. So I have
And a lot of those
ideas.
things, yeah, for sure, I completely agree. And I would say that a lot of these ideas regarding automation, some of them are also very reactive rather than proactive in terms of designing like total enclosure systems. So instead of like
Exactly.
everyone being a bit reactive, you know, okay, maybe we'll have a kitchen in every house, and then we'll build those robots into every person's house kitchen, instead of building a completely new neighborhood or community type system or city or so on, or building where it's all thought through in one proper way, just like as well Jacques was designing many of his cities and so on, to then overcome all of these reactive thoughts by designing it from ground up, which can prevent a lot of problems.
I don't know.
Isn't the food production, in my view, perhaps is one of the hardest full automation from what people may understand to be fully autonomous, like, because no, let me rephrase that. I think that people may think that food production is very difficult to automate because they transpose the same kind of things like, oh, I see myself in a kitchen doing stuff. No robot can do this. But they think very wrongly, because it's like, as I said, it's like imagining a robot trying to shift gears, drive a vehicle and look left or right. But that's not the way that that is going to be done. Because even today, there are so many recipes from well-known chefs, and they give this recipe to a bunch of engineers, and those engineers are going to build a system that will make this dish in like of times in a like a mass production, you see. Because even when you go to supermarkets and a dish by a chef, whatever, that is made in an automated way. That chef didn't stay there to do those things, or other chefs. Like very important point, because I've seen this with people. They say, oh, it's so impossible to automate food production, because they imagine themselves and they say, can you make a robot like me to put the ingredients there, to taste it, to do this and that? But that's the wrong way of thinking, in my view.
Really, it's also the same thing with artificial meat, for example, which also could be a potential thing in the future, and how many people don't see the process there, whereas that's all could be created in a lab. Of course, there might be issues within today's system, but if it was done in a sustainable and scientific manner where people, you know, actually look into it and see the beneficial aspects and the impact of the food on humans, then that could as well be something that could change the food game quite drastically, perhaps.
Yeah, so can we add more to this food production? Like how would they look like? They look like, in my view, like if I have to summarize, I would say the food production will be mostly centralized, in the sense that there are that are going to produce lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff like we have today, not that much different, and it will be pretty much automated. And then we will have at home or at special places, we will have some kinds of technologies that will allow us to create unique dishes and to put our own fingerprint on whatever we want to create. That's how I see it.
And I think as well, the key thing with food production in the future is localization, like to make the distance of your food as close as possible. Like even in cold places, you can create glass, whatever, hydroponic buildings where you can grow everything in wintertime or summertime, doesn't matter. So that you don't have to now import things from New Zealand or whatever if you're living in Europe or the other side of the world. So to cut it down, and then you could create transportation systems to deliver that food to you if it's so local. So it becomes much more efficient as well.
Localization, because of not wasting so much resources and energy on transportation, and maybe you have to, when you transport food, you have to make sure that the food stays fresh and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But maybe on the other hand, we will be able to synthesize pretty much everything. Then in this case, everything will be, you know, localized. When in a small lab or even at your home, you can from some substances creates some food and what's not.
This is a very important point, because we talk about technology as if it's some hands, robotic hands, or mass production, but you have to think about technology like biotechnology as well, because we can improve like apples to be more resistant for whatever bugs, or to not go bad so quickly. We can make artificial meats, like Sebastian says. We can improve the food itself, the biology of food, not only this. And this GMO, the genetically modified organisms, it's a great technology. It's fucked up in this system, mostly in terms of what people project about it. Like they say, oh, it's a big conspiracy, blah, blah, but it's about the technology, don't project about technology. So that this kind of technology can allow us to create amazing stuff. I mean, we didn't even begin to do this, to make maybe tomatoes growing in a really cold climate or whatever. It's endless.
Yes, great point, indeed.
But how do you guys think in the future, if we take cooking, will some people want to cook on their own? I mean, of course, there will be some who will do it for hobby or just because they love it. But like generally, people will cook, or it's mainly we will rely on automation, let's say.
Do you think that knitting? What knitting is? I think that's how you call it. When you create your own clothes, you make your own clothes manually. I think it was a big thing up until it was automated. And I'm sure many people will say, but I won't buy clothes that are made in some factories. I want to make my own clothes. Maybe this is a parallel, maybe this is similar, and people will try to see the advantage of not cooking your own food because it takes so much time, and developing that.
You know what? I was trying to grow my food a few years ago, and it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I didn't grow much or something; it wasn't really successful, but I really enjoyed the process of of just doing it. And even I imagine if I could get like we would now live in the future, and I could get any food I want just with one click of a mouse, I would still probably would grow because it's I enjoy the process.
I don't know. My grandma was to say that she was doing socks for us when we were kids, and she was like, but then we started to buy socks and clothes, and we didn't need that anymore. And I think even she realized that, well, maybe it's a better idea to just buy. But of course, I think it's very important, because even today, you want to knit your own stuff, you want to make your own clothes. Maybe you have the opportunity. You have to have the opportunity, even if you want to grow your food.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's also a connection with where the food then comes from. So to know, I mean, of course, if you can create it in through nanotechnology and it just suddenly appears, that would be different. But if you still have like localized greenhouses or whatever where your food comes from, people might be consuming it and not necessarily be a part of the cooking process. But I think it would be maybe important to some extent to teach whoever is consuming it, like where it comes from and the process of how it is created, like food and so on, and not to necessarily lose touch with the understanding of where does it comes from and the relation to it, maybe.
Yeah, because I think it's also an educational thing, meaning it's probably because we like to, maybe, I don't know if we like, but from my experience and others, and for example, Dima said that he liked to grow his food. Maybe it's because we can see the mechanistic process, and that for me is fascinating. I don't know how to say it in English exactly, but and be more in direct relation, as you say, with the food, with the natural cycles of the natural systems, and that's why not. I mean, I think that it will bring much possibilities in a trade-free society to do whatever we want in this context that we are speaking, of us exploring in a way of scientific approach to know more and to contribute, and it will be a lot of many different values will emerge just from those different conditions.
Yeah, and maybe in the future we won't eat anymore. Like, especially those people who really don't have time, there would be some kind of pills you can just for you.
I found in that situation sometimes that I wish I have a pill and just go.
Yeah,
Wow,
but
no,
imagine it's quite possible. There's just the pill who have all like enzymes, vitamins, minerals required for your body and for yourself. So you just swallow it and you're fine to go for one day.
Kind of pills like that. There are like solutions like Soylent or other kinds of solutions that you can mix and you can easily. I would love to take a pill a day. I will. I don't really enjoy cooking.
I think we're going to get hungry today. Like it's so much food.
But who knows? There might as well be some evolutionary, there might be some consequences of just taking a pill or just a solution, in terms of the need to maybe have to digest something, or there might be other mechanisms in the human body that might then be disrupted by that.
Yeah, I don't know. Because
and I also think about catastrophes. Also, it can be some kind of, I don't know, natural disaster, and solutions, or like Dima said, like pills with nutrients will be very easy to, in a way, provide to a population that, in that sense, it has the need or whatever.
Cody, you wanted to say something?
Just with like the Soylent and stuff, what Sebastian was saying is, yeah, they're pretty much recommending that, yeah, you need, it's like it is the right base nutrients, but because of the way our bodies evolved to get those nutrients, we actually need like the process of digesting like a food to get like your iron and stuff sufficiently, kind of things. So like, yeah, the guy who made Soylent, I'm pretty sure he's still trying to live off it, but against his doctor's recommendation.
Okay, but what if we will become some kind of cyborgs, when most of our body will be replaced by mechanical, heart, lungs, and everything.
I like that.
It's already possible to print something, today. Some lungs or printed, 3D printed.
Yeah, honestly.
In this case, when everything will be artificial in your body, you don't maybe need any nutrients or nothing.
Yeah, you might not even need, or just plug in.
Drink some oil.
If you look at us, at our anatomy, pretty much everything that we are digestive machines. From here to like everything, pretty much every organ, it's digestive. Is for digestive purposes. So it's like if we take out all of the digesting, we will be hollow in the brain, in 2 eyes, because that's what we are. So yeah.
I like that.
We just have to take our brain, put it on a machine with some wheels, and that's it. We charge from the sun.
That's
I think technology in the future has a lot to do with
it will happen, maybe not in that kind of extreme way, but it will happen, and really happens, to have artificial hearts, artificial lungs, artificial so many things.
Yeah, but I think it's also important not to necessarily lose touch with nature in a way. Technology should be like extensional to the human body, but it should as well coexist with nature and being in touch with the surroundings around you and so on.
Someone had this argument that it's a spider's web part of technology, because it's like a technology for the spider. What it creates isn't everything that we create, in a sense, part of nature, because whatever we do, even a machine, it's part of nature. Maybe 100%. we find it like damaging for some environments, but it's just us projecting that.
It's like, I heard once that it's like if a bacteria was afraid of evolving into a human.
I didn't get
that people are afraid of evolving so much with technology that they lose their kind of essence or whatever. And I don't know where I read that, but it makes a parallel to that, saying that it's like if a bacteria was afraid of evolving into a human. So
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I want to be a bacteria. You know, I am afraid of clothing. And yeah, but
Yeah,
human will
that's
be
a funny
afraid
movie.
that you can do much things or
Well,
not. I don't know.
have live
Maybe
streams
like
and be like, yeah, this is the scary future to be humans, and they will be hateful. Release books.
But it could
no, but
also be.
I think that yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
No, I was just gonna say that it can also be terrible in some ways. Like if you're trapped indoors and you have no exposure to the sun, or you're not moving around outside, and you're just completely embedded within this whatever technological system. So it's also like about designing whatever future in harmony with the environment, and I don't know. Of course, you can become a machine as well, and and we can just turn ourselves into that. But yeah.
But
yeah, because
that maybe
maybe
will be the main motivator for people to become more to replace more organs versus artificial things. You know, the way we live, like you said, maybe, you know, you stay so much inside, so you don't get, you know, the sun rays, and or, you know, we start to have a lot of problems of that. So maybe that will be the motivator to kind of adapt our body to this new realm of being so much indoors in front of your computer and so on.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
That's-
it's like sorry, it's like maybe old people who are more who have fears of internet, but those who have born with the internet in their environment, they are willing to explore. So in that sense, people who born in future surrounded by cyborgs and stuff, you know, or humans with mechanical parts, because in fact, I think we are kind of a biological machine. If when you take into, you know, the mechanistic point of view of how everything is interconnected and stuff like that, maybe is I don't know about projecting or cultural thing of our time. I'm not willing to you know, these projections about becoming a machine or something like that, but I don't know what the future people will think about that, or what they will explore or try to explore. So
yeah.
if we don't, how do you say, maybe lose some perspective of where we aiming as a whole, you know, I don't know where will it takes, because we can be able to move much faster if we have, you know, this common goal. So and we get free of trade, we can be, you know, we will add a lot of minds to the system. So and we will try to provide, at least I want to everyone be educated as better as possible with the means we have in the moment. So let's see.
Yeah, so like I see it, there are in the future, I see again, if have to summarize, I see mostly relying on centralized, like today, and the mass production, then a way for us to cook our own food, but more in a more automated way at home, maybe it's sharing recipes and so on, in like an open source kind of way. But also what we discussed
Engineer
lately
that
is
you're
like, yeah, it's like the biotechnology of foods will also probably change, and maybe our biology will change. So our needs for food will change dramatically. Maybe we don't need. Maybe we will look in the future. We will look at us and be like, "Wow, we had to shove that food into our faces and chop it with our teeth, you know, and then wait for it to extract energy and nutrients." And that's so primitive, maybe. There are animals today who have to eat one time, like every 8 months or so. Like crocodiles, for example, they only eat like one, but they are very lazy. So
That's fine for for the humans as well. If you sit in internet all day, you can just eat once a month. If you don't
I don't
waste
think so.
a lot of energy, like physical. Okay, guys, what do you think? Let's say about future. Will we have a politics, and who will be making all decisions?
Ah, we go to the decisions, to automate decisions. Damn, you opened like a can of worms now. Oh my god. I don't know. You guys take it.
I like Estonia. It's a very advanced. They're applying like technology. Everything's pretty much digital. They're pretty much paperless all around right now. They're really just pushing kind of the forefront of technology and what can be done. So they actually have like a voting system like that where you can actually like vote on matters and stuff with your, you know, like citizen ID. You can use basically any device to connect to like their servers and whatever, and you can, you know, voice concerns in kind of yes, that'd be like a decentralized way, and you kind of get input from every human in your society, you know, if they so choose.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, it's not about necessarily making decisions. It is arriving at decisions based on multiple inputs that are whatever in the city and the feedback systems that are in place. So it's like you produce this and this amount of food based on the population that is there, based on what machines are available, and so on. So no one really makes decisions. It is just whatever computers that are decentralized and information that is gathered, and then AI systems can as well help with reaching the best conclusion, and with different, of course, percentages of or degrees of certainty with their effects and so on. So in a very maybe technical and automated fashion with many sensors that are giving humans or the machines the feedback that they need in order to arrive then at a decision.
And what if AI will conclude that humans are source of all the problems?
This is like thinking that a self-driving car will be like, hey, what if I become an astronomer?
Yeah.
And watch the stars instead of the road.
Yeah.
I don't think such
No,
scenarios.
with artificial intelligence it's different because it's educates itself all the time. It's improving all the time, and I think there will be a point when the humans will stop to understand, you know, what's happening inside and how the artificial intelligence arrived to this decision.
Yeah, but it's always in a box. It's always in a box.
Yeah.
You cannot leave that box. I mean, even today there are simple software, pieces of software that will create images out of other images in a very unique way, and you cannot understand the process, what filter they applied, what did they do. So you cannot understand the process. You see the result. However, that's in a box. It's not like the same artificial intelligence will start to now try to kill humans or decide for our transportation system.
No, I mean, it's not, of course, like Terminator style future where, you know, the machine will rise up against the humans. But let's say artificial intelligence can come up to conclusions that maybe it's more efficient, but it's not necessarily better for the humans. And therefore it made a decision not taking in account, you know, human needs.
But it wouldn't have the maybe motivation to do so. But I think get what you're saying. There's also this movement actually. I saw the other day. It's called the Human Extinction Movement or something. I think they even have a Wikipedia page where they are propose a future where like humans get extinct through, and they like do that because they think it's better for the planet and for fellow animals and stuff like that. But a machine or an AI system would probably, I mean, they might recommend based on certain things that they would say, or a conclusion could be arrived upon by saying, okay, if humans were to go extinct, or if we were to kill, or if humans were to die all at once, then this and this would happen. But there would not necessarily be a like forced decision, I think.
Yeah, I don't know
Healthcare.
how to explain myself, but I found trouble in understanding how artificial intelligence could arrive to a conclusion, because I understand I don't know conclusion as a possible solution to a problem, and in that sense we I think we need to be able to know and control whatever possibilities the AI can bring us. So I think it's going to I don't know relationship between humans and AI, but yes, we will not understand how the process are done because now I don't know how a mobile is done and I use it. So in the sense, as Theo said with the photos, from what I'm understanding of the mechanistic point of view and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know what to think yet, but I have trouble with that, with the conclusion thing, because it's like more, maybe I understand it more like having purpose, and if we, I don't know how to say, I don't know how to explain more in this stuff, but I find that technology will do what we want to do. So maybe
there are always safety
don't
things
know.
in place. There are always safety things in place. Like today, they are testing artificial intelligence for decisions in healthcare, for example.
Yeah, for
Decisions
example,
maybe they're full for the
if
patient.
AI
For
says,
example.
okay, human is the conclusion that it's the cause of main problems, and we will be better if we get rid of this organism on the planet. But we can try to say, and how on Earth or on the solar system can be possible with human existence to coexist in order to maintain the equilibrium, the dynamic equilibrium of the Earth, or you know, and maybe we can find a solution. You know, or, no, I know we are going to find you another planet too, so you can move humans to and leave the Earth to us. I don't know. It's for me, it's more.
I
I
think
need
we
to study more.
romanticize. I
of
think we
this.
romanticize this AI thing. Like we make it like a human. But I don't think from whatever I understand from this, and I also at one point when I wrote a book about this kind of topic, I had to take several classes about neural networks and so forth, and I realized that it's not at all like they say in the media or people say it's everything is contained in boxes. You don't it's not like the AI will arrive at a decision and can implement it. It's one thing to arrive at a decision based on some statistics, it's another thing to implement it, like I wanted to give an example, like in medicine they punch in lots of data and the machine tries to come with a cancer treatment for a patient, but are the doctors who are going to do cell trials and see is this growing the life or not, you know. So in the end, humans are still deciding. Doesn't matter if transportation is, it's the decisions are in the end by humans.
What about stock markets? You know how they work? They're basically bots fighting against the bots, and all decisions are made by automation. So in this case, humans gave the kind of the power to the computers to make decisions.
Because that's what they want, right?
Yeah. But I mean,
Purpose is-
it's possible, and depends from the humans if we can give this kind of power to the computers to make decisions the way you said. Yeah, one thing to arrive on the conclusion, another thing to implement it. So it's also possible.
And yeah, the danger. So right now with AI, it's not real AI in the sense that it's like the bottom level of AI that you can get. So basically, yeah, it's gonna do what you want to do, and it's gonna stay in that box. I think the potential danger is the singularity that's talked about when the kind of one system has basically surpassed the processing power of all humans and is like a generic, is able to teach itself, is able to and learn from itself, self-improve at such a rate that like it runs away from us at that point. That's, I think, the kind of AI Dima is kind of imagining, not like the kind of stuff that's like speed running Mario right now and just like you know, trying every possible combination until there's like a winning one. That's not AI in the sense where it's, you know, mastered and has like the internet as its entire database.
So why would it be motivated to like do anything like against humans or I don't know.
So what Dima is saying is basically he's imagining a future, and I imagine this future too, where humans basically get eradicated by like a decision that we weren't even like factored into, or like as a just, you know, collateral damage. And it's not that it's motivated against us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that we taught it, you know, this is the set of rules, like this is you know, the concept that your code runs by. So whatever you learn and gather, this is what you're trying to implement. And if we don't kind of perfect whatever this is and be very kind of careful with maybe what this is, that we could end up eradicating humans like accidentally, kind of thing. And the AI was like, I'm just doing what you told me to do, kind of thing. And I think it sounds far-fetched. It sounds far-fetched.
Mistakes are one thing.
Go ahead.
Mistakes are one thing, but intentionality it's another thing. And I think people talk a lot about intentionality. Of course, mistakes will always happen. And the more complex the system, the more probability for a mistake, of course. But think about the best AI that we have today, human beings. Human beings, if you could create a machine like human beings to be able to learn from so many environments, so many things, I mean, that's the goal for so many who study artificial intelligence, to be able to not only multitask, but to learn from different kinds of domains, because today everything is narrow, even for artificial intelligence. Okay, so you have this human being. Imagine this is a machine. Is this human being wanting to kill humanity? Some want, some don't. It depends on the environment. It depends what you feed into this machine, whatever you want to call it. So it all depends on the environment.
Yeah, exactly. The inputs determine the outputs. Like, and I'm sure AI will also be used for war and other things. Yeah. That can, of course, lead to then mistakes within the system in a way. But within like a trade-free system, or exactly, it depends on the environment and what is fed into the AI, and then that would depend on its intentions and the redundancy factors that are there to prevent possible mistakes and so on. I don't know. But surely they're within the system easily. They could be something that could wipe us out.
I'm telling you, in the system, the most dangerous AI will be the ones that China or others are using that are going to score people based on their social interactions. You may not think that this is dangerous, but it's very dangerous because you will end up poor. You will end up being enslaved in a digital sense, in a social sense, by such algorithms that will say, hey, look, Sebastian is not behaving well because he's talking all kinds of crap about our system, so he cannot get a loan. You know, that's the kind of dangerous AI. Not the ones that are portrayed in the movie. That's my view.
Yeah. It's actually fun. I mentioned the social credit score in China. They actually just implemented a new feature of that. And now there's an app that will tell you if there's somebody in debt with you within 500 meters.
Jesus Christ.
It'll basically, so if you're in China, anybody within 500 meters of basically whatever location that phone reports will tell you if there's a person in debt. And then you can report that person if they're going into like a store or whatever and be like, hey, this person went and shopped here and came out with like a couple bags, didn't pay their debts. So it's kind of like a citizen self-reporting.
Isn't everybody in debt that day?
Yeah. Gonna be a lot of notifications in China.
Yeah. So for me, it's that's I agree with Theo. It's that trade environment which we have to be afraid of in relation to AI. But I don't know, because as he said, if you know, if we were we've been here for quite a while on the earth, so I don't find those ideas. I don't know how to say probable, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there are other aspects of society that we can talk about in terms of automation, because this can go into another domain of decision making. Right?
I wanted to because from the book, The Origin of Most Problems, I understand that blockchain, if embedded in the trade system, won't solve really a thing. But having a conversation with a friend of mine, um, on the one hand, he thinks that using blockchain for cryptocurrencies will lead to trade free. I don't know how exactly because we didn't have much time to talk about that. But I was curious about that, and also if we get trade free as the topic of today, will because I know just a little of blockchain, but will be a useful technology because of what characteristics it has, or what do you think about that? We will use that kind of having, you know,
I
this.
didn't get your last part.
If do you see in a trade-free society using blockchain technology stuff or something based on those principles of blockchain?
So for those who don't know, blockchain, because it was very hard for me to understand. It's for everybody, very hard to understand. But just imagine like a bunch of transactions, whatever they say, like Sebastian gets $5, Rafa pays to Cody something else. Whatever transactions there are on this ledger, whatever you call it, they are connected between them like a chain in a way that you cannot untangle the chain. So they say because of this, every such transaction is in order, so you cannot cheat. You cannot cheat the system. That's the basic idea. They basically invented a tool that they say it's not prone to be hacked or cheated or something like that. Of course, they hacked blockchain before a few times. Of course, there are methods. It's like, you know what? If you want to create a piece of technology or a rule that you say, oh, it's impenetrable, like no one can break it, this is a failure. Let me give you a really brief example. Credit cards, okay? They said it's too easy. You can steal the name, you can steal the number, and you can pay online, and you can extract money. So they put there a code. When you want to pay, a code gets to your phone, you insert the code, two-factor authentication, okay? People from Romania, I know people who are saying, okay, fuck that shit, we don't need that. I'm going to call you and trick you into give me your money to me. I don't have to hack your credit card. I can find ways around it, and I can still hack you and steal your money. Same with blockchain. Doesn't matter if you make it so bulletproof or foolproof or whatever proof. People will always find way in this system to hack it and to make it in their own for their own interest. So is blockchain technology useful for a trade-free kind of society? Maybe. There are many kinds of technologies like blockchain. But will blockchain itself lead to a trade-free society? I don't see how. It's just a tool. It's just a tool.
Yeah, I agree on that. Okay. Thank you, too. By the way, I understood finally how blockchain works thanks to your explanation on that book, because I found it useful, and also there's a lot of attached links to videos and more, and I found it necessary to understand, because you hear a lot of this and that, and it's like a trendy topic nowadays, and I wanted to understand a little bit more.
Yeah, it can be useful to keep track of resources, for example, or stuff like that. But they say it's useful in today's world because so many people are going to cheat. And they say, oh, look, this is uncheatable. It's not uncheatable. Nothing is uncheatable.
I know how they approach on today's system culture. And that's why I was thinking maybe it's not as necessary, but to find ways of just keeping track of things, because we are going to manage lots of information, and we will have the need to access in a certain moment to that information. I understand maybe like access to the source code or something like that. Like we can have access and transparency, meaning everyone can see that public data, and because we have all the barriers today, and we don't know how data is being treated and stuff like that. But yeah,
blockchain, open source, transparency, they are okay, they are great technologies, but today all of them can be hacked and people can find loops. You have to change the environment. You cannot put stops and barriers and build
Yeah.
walls and put, no.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree on that.
I think the way blockchain leads to any kind of like trade free would be indirectly, in that if you're using these kind of cryptos as like your if it gets to a point where it can be a daily driver, and I can use Bitcoin to get my groceries and Bitcoin to do this and Bitcoin to do that, and it's super fast and easy, then it's a way to kind of not participate necessarily with the fiat currency that we're given. So it's almost like kind of cutting that out of the equation, and that can be disruptive if maybe enough people kind of do it.
Yeah,
but as for like, yeah,
it
Go ahead.
doesn't change
Then
anything.
it's
I mean,
still trade,
if you don't have money or you don't have crypto money, it doesn't make any sense, you know.
yeah, the only yeah, that's the only thing I'm thinking, is that it's literally just for like the niche people who kind of like mine it straight up, and then like basically your time and whatever resources you had, computing resources, is kind of offsetting moving the other fiat currency, the big one. I don't even know what you would call the global financial markets currency, but that whole kind of just taking out like a large chunk of the circulating currency to kind of accelerate its impending demise is
but
the only way I
banks
see it.
will engulf the cryptocurrency.
Oh yeah, they're already trying, and they have Ripple already is kind of the one they're jumping on, being like, hey, but it's like, if we don't use Ripple, then we're still cutting out potentially the banks. But now, if you want to get in crypto right now, it's actually kind of nutty. So way back in 2012, it's like anybody could buy and sell crypto. Nobody knew what was really going on. Now they're like requiring that you basically upload like a passport photo and this, so they know everybody who's kind of doing anything. So it's already kind of like Monero's kind of like a privacy-based coin, and it's like, now if you want to have any kind of, if you want to buy Monero, you have to go through an exchange, unless you can get it from a friend or something. But if you have to go through one of these exchange, they basically have that your identification, your ultimate identification.
So
yeah. I see where that's it. It was a technology built against all. It's like basically getting all pulled back in. So indirectly, I think it can contribute towards a trade-free thing, but by just having like crypto that's worth something, like Tio kind of informed me, it's like it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. The way you described right now situation, it's already corrupt, and it's no difference from other standard monetary system we've got. I mean, you can cut a middleman in face of banks, but then even banks today start to apply cryptocurrency, and it's even more profitable for them, because they have less taxes to pay and less charges and what's not.
And even if there was no money or whatever, and there was all just cryptocurrency, it would still probably be a messed up trade world, because some people are gonna control most of it, and then there will be an incentive to hoard however many you can, and you'll still be scarcity and inequality and all those things.
I think even right now, like 90% of all the bitcoins are owned by 1% of the those who have bitcoins.
Yeah.
Winklevoss twins.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there you've got the answer on the question. where it leads to trade free world or more trade world, double trade world.
That's why it's very important for me to focus with this project on trade, because I see so many people coming and saying, oh look, this cryptocurrency is the solution. No, this cryptocurrency, no, this. Is it trade based? Like I still have to get that cryptocurrency and to take stuff up. It's the same.
Yeah. Completely. Before this, before this TROM-Cast, I was just reading the Automated Autonomous book, and it's really brilliant, where you showcase most of the different sectors in a way that can be automated already now with today's technology, particularly as well construction, with the concert crafting and the 3D printers that could really radically change the game. Yeah. And I think that's an amazing way of eliminating the need for physical labor and many deaths that also occur like that, and could be a much more rapid, safe, and effective way to produce houses and accommodation.
Construction as well. It's an area that is a bit difficult to imagine how can be automated, because if you ever looked at how people build buildings, there are many people there building all kinds of stuff from all kinds of the directions. But if you look at 3D printing and what can be done with it today, it's not impossible to imagine like a printer that can move around a space, like building from the ground up, even like building, or many kinds of 3D printers building all kinds of parts, like pillars or the ground or the floor and so forth. There are some models of that. It's also that you can use present day. I was seeing today in here where I live, they construct something and they have like a big area that is closed. You cannot go. And there are people in machines like picking up rocks and smashing it and taking dirt, taking this, putting into that. You can create like simple self-driving cars that are encapsulated in an area that people cannot go there, so you avoid casualties, avoid accident. In the same way that a human drives a truck and picks up something and puts it there or do that, you can do that with automation today pretty much. It's not a huge amount of deal. And this part of construction, it's a big part of it, like digging holes and putting pipes and so forth. Is not, I don't think it's that complicated. Yeah, and there are 3D printed houses or stuff like that. Of course, they exaggerate a bit with
that.
Sure, yes. If we're speaking about 3D printing in the construction side, the very good advantage is there's almost no waste, because they use only the amount of resource they exactly need. You know, if they start to print the home, you just pour enough of the cement and other mixture what you need, and that's it. There is no waste. And if you look at the traditional construction, there's so much waste, you know, produced just unnecessarily. So in such a way, it's much more effective.
Another idea is that I saw in the metabolism movement. Maybe Jack Fresco was influenced by that as well, because they are from Japan in the 1920s. And they built this kind of, like, you build the core structure of a building, and then you build little apartments, and you just snap them in place. You know, you snap them. You need 1,000 apartments, you snap 1,000 apartments. You don't have to have 2,000 apartments for 1,000 people.
Yeah, I've seen that on Japanese project designs, but you say about what? I didn't hear that, metabolism?
In Japan, the metabolism movement.
I didn't know that.
I wrote in the Money Game book, I showcased examples of such technologies.
Okay.
Yeah, very interesting. And they had this idea of buildings should evolve with society. You don't have to make a kind of building that is concrete and it stays there, because technology evolves. Okay, so you make these structures that are like metabolism. They change with from era to era, you know. So today it's like imagine now I had an idea, a socket in your home, power socket. It's the same kind of power socket, but whatever you plug it in, you know, is different. You can plug it in a smartphone today, who knows what in 10 years. Imagine buildings like that, being like that, and the plug is pretty much the same. And by the plug, I also mean electricity and water. When they plug this house, they plug it into the structure, you have water and stuff like that. But the entire house could be very different from era to era, from one year to another. You understand this? It's like the power plug. You plug different things, but the power plug remains the same, so that it has continuity and can evolve.
Okay, I see what you mean about the plug. It's interesting, that way of, I like that.
But that's interesting why this idea is not applied anymore. I think it was in some 70s. And today this building is staying almost half abandoned, and it's actually at a hotel. You can stay there for a night, and there's these capsules, and I just watched some documentary about it, and it's dirty and in a bad shape and in a bad state, and I just wonder why.
Do you have the resources? the electric car, they have ideas for electric car, but until someone came to invest and stuff like that to build like an infrastructure for electric cars, they didn't take off. And now we're starting to take off. I think it's the same kind of thing. If you don't have like a country that will invest into stuff in Tokyo, they want to invest with metabolism to build the entire Tokyo. But they then gave up for financial reasons. Imagine if they could go with the plan and they will build some stuff in Tokyo, maybe it will have inspired other people. But I don't think it's the fault of the technology. I think it's the fault of the financial system.
No, I also think it's not a technology. I'm just curious because yeah, even there in Tokyo, you know, they've got quite dense population, so such structures will fit perfectly. You know, just this capsule, just put one, exchange one, add a few
Maybe
more.
it's not profitable.
I think it's profitable. Why not? I mean, but they could
Maintenance.
they could make them luxury boxes and sell for millions of dollars. You know. So I'm just curious why these projects haven't progressed further.
Yeah, I think that's the reason, the financial. Because if you are a company, do you jump into these new kinds of buildings, or do you get to the model that it works? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, construction, 3D printers, and even like Jack Fresco had this idea of extracting molds. Like you make like a toothpaste box, and you make it in a way that is the shape of the home, and you put the concrete in or whatever materials you put, and it will go to this structure like a tube, and will go on the other side like will come out like a house, basically. You know, that's another kind of idea.
Extrusion or something techniques it's called.
Extruding, I think it's extrude. Yeah.
Other great.
Yes, I like. What were you saying, Dima?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say the other great thing is self-healing concrete, which is designed recently.
About that.
Yeah, imagine if there are some cracks, there are some bacteria which start to heal and grow it back together. So in this sense, buildings could be possibly eternal.
So they found a solution for cracking concrete, but not for cavities. You know, fuck them with their technology, because they have to break my tooth and put a paste, but they found a way to heal the.
Yeah, it's just bacteria. Maybe you can also have this bacteria in your mouth.
I think that is what creates the.
That's also
Any
possible.
ideas of how to automate the construction? Do you have any other ideas? Cody, do you think about? Do you know any kind of new technology that's automated?
I think the best thing we have so far is kind of like combining like the 3D printing and like kind of like the modules, like you're saying, and then having a standard set for, you know, whatever connection it is goes to the building. But with that idea, it's like, how are we moving these things? Like, do we have a more efficient way? Because these things have to be, I guess, they'd have to be a little bit sizable.
You mean the 3D printers, or?
Yeah, the 3D printer, the 3D printed like modules for like the core housing and stuff. So like how you'd go actually like moving those modules.
Maybe you can make them and move the house.
Ooh.
You know, make them in a factory.
Yeah.
And then you can move the entire thing.
Okay.
That can
I'm
work.
down with that. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I think maybe even just something comes out where, you know, we just couldn't even see it coming almost, it seems. So we've had generic structures like this for centuries now, so, you know, it's time for a change.
I had a printer from like 2002. I would never imagine that I could use the same kind of technology to build like a...
But yeah, such modules can be also like a packed in compact way, and then transfer and then unfold. You know, like things like memory metal and stuff like that. You know, when you heat up the metal, it remembers the shape it was like produced before. So.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like the 4D there's a 4D printing, but I guess that's memory metal, but the same kind of concept where you add energy and it has a shape that it forms to.
Yeah.
I think there's a guy with a TED talk about that. I think it's kind of, I don't know if it's Skyler or something, because I recall that his name was peculiar to me, and I think it's Skyler always or something like that. But yeah, I've seen about that, about the 4D printing or shape memory. I think it's synonyms, and it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that even Jack was talking about. He did this little experiment with a coil or whatever was that. He was like, look, we stretch this, and if we put heat, it will get back into the shape, to like demonstrate this kind of concept.
It was the first time for me that I was exposed to Nita. I think it's how do you call that metal? Nitanol is or no?
I don't know.
I don't. I used to know it, but I was like, what this the it's
so
yeah,
much
exactly.
ahead.
Yeah, it
Wonder.
was very.
Representation.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. When you observe the physics, no, in that way, it's very maybe to the fact, no, he can appreciate what in a very, it's very hard to explain in words and very easy to show.
To demonstrate with this little thing. Yeah, and also thinking about inside the home, like furniture, for example, because I've seen so many types of furniture that are smart furniture, not like today's furniture, that can transform from a bed to a table. So they use far less resources, but they are still the same, like useful as the same kind of usefulness in them. So I really like this kind of idea, smart furniture. Do you know, guys, about smart furniture?
Yeah, for sure. And that can as well be prefabricated into a housing unit. And I think there are already some companies I've seen that actually produce that. They produce like small smart homes that are for sale. At least in Germany, they have such units. And then built in is like a bed where you can like clap down and those things that are kind of already integrated into the space, so that you can live in a smaller space but with more space, of course. Yeah, and that have multiple functionalities. So a bed can be used as a table, or a table can be used as a chair, and vice versa, or a sofa can be turned into a bed, and so on.
Because I think we created a craze with homes today.
They could.
One second, just a house, it's actually a very simple thing. It's a box, and maybe the most complicated part could be like electricity a little bit, or the bathroom, but it's like a box with a bed and so forth. We made into the system to believe that there are so many kinds of homes, when in fact there is not. There is basically one kind of home, and it's just a box. We made them so expensive and look so complicated. That's why we may think that it's hard to automate this, but I don't see how.
No, it's quite simple actually, and there are many companies already doing such things. It's called living big in a tiny house as well, and they are prefabricating these tiny houses quite rapidly. Of course, not like how it could be done in the future with way better materials potentially, and in a way quicker and more automated fashion. But already now they're kind of demonstrating how it's possible to do so with wood and create tiny spaces that are very functional and minimalistic, yet still have all the functionalities that you need.
I think even Buckminster Fuller, he created that house that could be deployed so easily.
Yeah.
He created some kind of like the dome house that could be like folded, and then you can unfold it, or you can build it your own from a few pieces of materials. So there are so many solutions. I think it's only people that have to accept that, oh, maybe why should I live in this small box? I need a big house, you know, with big windows and to invite people in and big table and shit like that. It's the values, mostly the values that we create that need to change. Because one thing that I wanted to mention, like, it seems interesting to me, the toilet. The toilet didn't evolve as a technology. It's very strange. Everything in the home basically evolved. The toilet is the same kind of toilet that was 100 years ago or so when it was invented. It's the same kind of technology, you know. So I was thinking, like, yeah, it's based on gravity, and I was looking at, like, come on, no other alternative for this solution, this toilet, and there are none that are efficient. There are some that are weird, but
we can be more creative with shit.
It's also not the most functional way to take a dump, actually, when you're sitting like that on a 90-degree angle. It's much healthier to squat, actually.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah.
No, because
so
it's based on evolution and perspective from because you spend so much time, no, from.
Yeah, but what I'm more curious about is like, what do you do with the waste? How do you manage that? You know, because that was my point. Like with these toilets today, we have the same kind of system that everything goes with. We use water and gravity. That's it. So I was thinking, isn't it a smarter way to deal with this? And I could not find.
There is. You have to look at the how they call it?
The ISS.
No, yeah, they've got in a spacecraft.
International Space Station.
Yeah,
ISS.
you know, so yeah, they've got this soaking tube like a
because they don't have gravity there. I mean, they have gravity, but they
so it just sucks in. That's it.
And they also recycle. They recycle the urine. I think 97% of the urine, they recycle it into water, which is fantastic. It's like, whoa.
I have an experience with a different system of bath. When I spent 2 months living in a permaculture school, and they have like they say a dry bath. So it's basically the same hole and the gravity system, but it goes to a place when they add other organic material like leaves and stuff like that, so they can reuse to create compost and they use them to grow food. So
but in Spain they do that everywhere. Didn't you see? In Spain it smells like shit in many kinds of areas because they use that. But they use
I didn't get that. Can you repeat?
In Spain they use that. They use the waste to put in fields to grow stuff. At least here in my area they use a lot.
Yeah. So to reintroduce the nature cycles.
To recycle it.
And it was very, very interesting. And they also, for example, when in the house when you use the sink, the water goes through a filter and then goes to the garden. So so when you use for cleaning the dishes, it also water the garden. So it's a way more efficient. No, they were very focused on being efficient with the resources. Capturing the rainwater. It was a very great experience that I will never forget because it was a very, very different environment from which I have been ever before. So
the key is if you can scale it. Can you scale it?
Exactly. It's what I wanted to use the term macro permaculture. So make it bigger. In that sense. And yes, I found some. I met a lot of people during that time, and I found some people that were kind of afraid of more advanced technology, but they thought about technology, and I was okay, when you use as a shop, it's also technology. It's an extension of our abilities, and that's that. I found in some people I met the lack of more scientific in other fields, because obviously they know about science and how to be more efficient with the resources and energies that solar, wind, whatever. It was very interesting. But in other things that I missed that from my experience. But I really like that, and if someone has the opportunity, because here in Spain there's quite a lot of places where you can visit, and it's interesting. But yes,
The problem with such groups, I think, is that they have some idealistic things like we don't want technology, or we want to do it in a way that, but you need technology. If you want to create a large scale, you need technology. You need to be smart about this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
But
totally.
the idea of toilet and drinkable water, these are applied like for billions of people across thousands of kilometers. And I think it's a great way to understand that, yes, we can apply some solutions if you like don't rely on companies or stuff like that, everyone for itself. You have to just do it with engineers. Like, hey, how can we provide clean water for all people? How can we provide how can we manage the sewage system? You can do that, and I think we can do that with food and everything else, but it wasn't tried. Business. But to me, this is an example that we can do this at a larger scale to provide whatever people need to provide. Because even with drinkable water, it's a lot of engineering. It's not that simple. Those are not just simple pipes that water goes through. You have to coat them with some special things. You have to measure if they are clean. It's a lot going through, So it's an example.
And that just goes to show that our problems are technical beyond everything else. And through design and new technologies and innovation, and designing it in a certain way, you can overcome those problems. Speaking about it or politics and so on is not going to change anything. It's through desalination methods or filtration systems that's actually going to make a difference. And those lifesaver bottles, for example, or all kind of other filters that you can put on. On your tap or whatever, that can actually make a difference.
I had an idea now when you talked about this. I was like, imagine if today we didn't have drinkable water, and we will have this stream, this TROM-Cast, and we will discuss what if we could make a system to provide drinkable water for people. And some people will say like, oh yeah, but I drink Coca-Cola, I drink Fanta. Would you put different times for Coca-Cola and for Fanta? I think the same happens with food. If we want to provide food for people, nutrition, provide drinkable water so that people are not thirsty or are not hungry. But with today's values, people are starting to think like, yeah, but I want a pizza pepperoni, I want a whatever dish, I want this, I want that. Why not we can provide like so that people don't starve, and then we deal with types of dishes, Think about that. Think about that.
About the basic, first.
Yeah, think about that. I think we can do this, because if we had a discussion about drinkable water today and it wasn't implemented, people will argue. They will say, I want Coca-Cola. No, I want Fanta. No, I want smoothie. So I think it's a good point, this, if you think about it. If you could make a system to deliver food to people so that they don't starve, that's a start.
But the question is, if you'd provide such system for the people, would they still drink your water even if you give them for free? I bet in our culture people would still prefer their Coca-Cola and Fanta, because it's a value system, and for them, like, the products is their identificator, oh, I'm drinking Coca-Cola, I'm driving this car, I got this phone, that means something, that's my status, that's my value, other people knows how much cost it is, so it's, even if you would, I agree, our problems mainly are technological, but even if technology is there, like today we've got so many technologies which are not applied on, any significant scale, but we already have them. And if culture not there, if our values not there, nothing gonna change.
Yeah, I think real problems are technological.
Yeah, for sure. But to apply it, you have to change the society, change the values of people.
Yeah, change what's reinforced, because what is reinforced is like even now we're having air pressure. You know, people cannot soon maybe not even have clean air, which comes even maybe before water, if they, you know, there are all kind of diseases linked to that. So it's a completely different value system, like you know, you guys are saying. That's just being pushed by this society. And there are people who are living next to areas where there's more than enough water, but there are companies controlling the water supply and like producing bottled water that is going to be shipped out to another place and sold in another area of the world. And it just makes absolutely no sense. Whereas the water can just be desalinated or can be taken from the ocean and provided
we
to
live
people.
on a blue planet.
Yeah, exactly. And there are 850 million people or something that don't have access to clean water. Or more, and not even proper sanitation, or can't even go to the toilet properly because it's a complete mess. Yeah,
that's crazy. You know, an alien species will say, "Are you crazy? You don't have clean water. You are surrounded by water."
Yeah, completely.
But it's not clean anymore. I mean,
yes,
the problem of microplastic is huge.
Yeah.
So, sorry. So what was the point? Because I understood in some point here that you were saying that how to avoid people arguing about what they want instead of what they need in regards to drinking or water or surviving. Or I mean, uh, I thought you were saying that we should aim at something like, I understand something like aiming at something that we can agree on. Maybe that, okay, maybe you all drink different stuff, but we all can drink water. So, and water can provide us, because you say let's focus on basic nutrients or meals, and then we will do the more elaborated dishes. It was something like that you were saying. Can you elaborate more on that?
My idea was that value standpoint, value perspective. Today, people have access to drinkable water. Most people, so they will not even think of like, hey, shouldn't we put a tap for Fanta or for something else? They just accept that, and it's very useful. Even if companies come and they make people buy Coca-Cola, let's say, it's still useful, especially for poor people. Imagine if when we talk today, like a delivery system that will deliver food for people. In today's society, many will argue because of their values. But that maybe that's shitty food. You know,
I understand.
It doesn't matter. We need to start from somewhere, and it's a value to put their values in perspective in a way.
So it's maybe that it doesn't matter how what system you can provide to people. People will argue because we are all, you know, in very different directions of individual approaches of needs and desires and stuff.
It's because it's influenced by today's society where food is such a social thing. It's like you go to eat this.
You have to be unique. No, I eat just no. I eat this. I eat because it promotes the market, the trade and stuff. Yeah, obviously it's that individuality is not for me. It's sane.
There was a great documentary made by Discovery Channel, I think. It was like 10 hours Discovery, like 10 parts about inventions and inventors. And there was all kinds of invention which changed the world in some way, even on a small scale. And the interesting thing was there that actually it took much more time to the people to accept these new ideas. You know, there's like everything, like microwaves or whatever. I remember specifically about microwaves. The guy who invented it, it has to wait 20 years until the public will accept it. And that was with every single invention there. It took so much time. The technology was there, it's just convince people, it's just to find a way it's economically profitable and all of these things, you know. So that tells about our values and about our society.
Yeah.
I think we have this illusion that we are so advanced because we have these phones, you know, and we dress this cool, you know, and we have whatever the fuck. But people, in my view, most people in the world are very primitive for a simple fact that there is no educational system in our world. We call it education, has nothing to do with education. No one knows how this society works. No one knows about other people's values, human behavior. People know nothing. So I see people like when you go into a tribe and you say, hey, don't go hunt, I have an idea. Let's put them in something and you grow them there, or the food or the plants. So you don't have to hunt. And they will be like, they will, spear you. Like they will hunt you down or something. I see the same in today's world. People don't have much. You finish school and you go to work. How can you, taste such ideas like microwave when this is not a thing? Or let's provide free food for people, even if this food is just, is not like whatever exotic dish. People are just reactive in today's world, reactive creatures, and I think they are very primitive. They don't know much about the world in that sense.
Completely. And it's like stalling completely, because in some tribes they would call you lazy if you invented a well where you could just pull up the water, and instead you have to walk 2 kilometers every morning so you can go fetch the water and bring it over. And you're not allowed to now suddenly automate food production and just start eating, because you have to hunt the food yourself, kill it yourself, and then so on.
Well, my father says the same. You have to go to work to put
exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're a lazy bum. That's how it is. So sick. So sick. And all this technology is kind of meaningless if it's not applied to society with social concern and to alleviate the pressure of having to do forceful work that is repetitious and unnecessary. To free.
Yeah, some say look at Africa or whatever, they have cell phones. Like, fuck that shit, People don't have access to clean water or healthcare or whatever. And you say that we are so advanced that people in Africa have cell phones.
They have access to Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
Yes.
Before healthcare.
And people that doesn't know how the world works. Yeah, it's very contradictory.
Okay, guys. Anyone else who wants to add something about technologies in the future?
I had just the topic of deep fakes, and in a society that's lacking trust on the overall stage. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with deep fakes or the AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not.
So, okay. So deepfake is basically an app that you can download. It's available for anyone, and you can map the face of, say, like Donald Trump, or I can take your face, Dima, and I can plaster it basically with AI over somebody else's face.
Okay.
And they also have this technology for voices. So basically, if I get enough samples of your voices, I think Adobe's working on this right now.
I've seen examples of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can create. So I could be like, if I have enough samples of Dima's voice from TROM-Cast, I can basically be like, hi, my name is Dima, and I'm a dumb idiot, kind of thing. I can make you say that yourself, kind of thing, and you're already seeing it. So it's being used kind of politically. So like, making Donald Trump maybe say something that he hasn't.
Yeah.
But, who even knows, because it's Donald Trump and every word out of his mouth is a lie. But kind of having anybody with that level of technology in a society where trust is basically almost non-existent. It's like we know we're being lied to all the time and deceived at almost every turn, but it's almost like ignorance is bliss. And if I'm not like mindfully paying attention to all that stuff, man, it's whatever. But just the advent of fake news already, like what Alex Jones can say, and he can be as crazy as he wants. What about somebody reputable? What about somebody on your nightly news that you deep fake and put out a false story? Kind of things like this. When you have that level of technology in a society that's kind of so divisive, and it's
didn't people have this problem when the books came? Because there were lots of forgeries, and people said, I'm impersonating this author, and I'm going to write about all kinds of things. I think that I also faced such a thing back then, because it was like a big thing. They will write in the name of other authors, other writers, and they will sell the books, and they could write whatever, I think there will always be such things. I mean, for us today, deep face maybe seem wrong, but I'm not sure, because we already live in a society where you don't have to deep face anyone. You can say something in a newspaper, or you can hack their Twitter, or you can say something that an anonymous source says about the president or whatever. There are many ways to, it's about our society. Technology is just a mean to push lies and stuff like that, but if the society is the same,
Yeah, if the values are still so old, the technology evolves from that, and it's just these things we are talking about now.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary, Icebound the dog, whatever, its own video on it. It's from 1920s, and it was about like a small town in Canada, I think, where they had like an epidemic of whatever disease it was. Like, let's say it was a virus, okay?
It was in Alaska.
You've seen it?
Yeah, it was in Alaska.
Okay, in Alaska. And you saw the fake news was like crazy even back then. It was like, oh, the population is like dying. Everyone is like for profit. This is not a new thing, It's the medium has changed. The message and the attitude, not much.
Yeah, but just imagine with such technologies how real it appears, that people think like for real. You can, because like today in our realm, if we see a picture, everyone can doubt it. Okay, it can be photoshopped. Everyone knows pretty much it. You cannot trust it like 100%. If it's video today, you still kind of trust it still.
Still.
Yeah, but in a few years, I mean, we wouldn't trust the videos anymore.
Yeah. So yeah. I think the danger more lies like, yeah, this is like a thing that's been happening, with the books and kind of like plagiarizing almost. But I think the danger now is that we have instant communication, and that, yeah, video is almost like our trusted format. And there's also another cool feature about deepfakes is that you can feed the fake back to itself, and it tries to detect a deep fake if basically it's not the original recording and somebody's face is being masked over it. So it basically has the two layers where it can create that, test itself, and if it can detect it, it can improve on the algorithm to keep self-improving how good it looks itself. And I think the danger more comes from video being our kind of trusted number one, like, and just how things can go viral. Like, look at all that fake news, like Pizzagate and all that stuff, like how serious that can get very quickly with just, tweets even. So I think, you get Donald Trump or somebody reputable to say something and it goes viral on Facebook or something, that you can do some serious damage.
But to me, deepfakes or a footage with a UFO or a photo was manipulated 20 years ago, that people will to be manipulated and so forth. All of these are just some tools that people will spread misinformation through. And I think if you rely on a video, even today, video or photo, you are going to get into a lot of troubles, because I can show you some videos with UFOs that you may say, oh, they look so real, but you don't trust the video. You trust other people who are experts in that. You trust some organizations. I don't know, from whatever.
It's you who trust those people. Other population trusted such videos. And that's the problem.
And for them, such deep fakes will be efficient, but they will not affect people like me, for example. But for them, you don't need deep fakes. You don't need that sophisticated technology. That was my point. You will reach the same people with this sophisticated technology, basically.
Yes, and I think if we can provide a good education on critical thinking and how to filter information and to prove claims, and as I think we can, as Theo said, because we have already those problems before, of claims or manipulating and with the previous technology. So I don't find meaning that we don't need to trust. Maybe it's a semantic thing again, but I understand that we need to understand me. So not trust. We need to see how things work, and if someone says something, see how it relates to how can we test things in reality, and maybe we can extend that to whatever politics, if they manipulate, whatever, Trump or whoever, and so for me it's very important, and to also try to find tools and bring to population in whatever way we can. If we can design an educational system and embed it in whatever in urban systems, the better. But whatever possible way now it's good. I think it is helping me a lot to know to be skeptical about things, and so I'm not afraid of those fake. Maybe I'm mislead. How do you say? Or they can how do you say? Engañarme.
Fool you.
They can fool me, exactly. But at the end, with lots of different inputs, I think evidence will lead us. No, when lots of information can be testable and leads to a direction, is more certain that this is true or this is false. No, whatever. I mean, maybe that's some kind of tools we can use to defend from that.
Yeah,
And
I think,
goodbye for now. So I'm sorry to say that abruptly, but I will try to meet next time. I really have a good time. Thank you for all your time.
Okay, Rafa.
thank you.
Same.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just gonna add on
Yeah.
on what was said earlier, and that was just that this technology of being able to record someone's voice just by hearing through a bit and putting that into a program can also be used for like positive things. Instead of having to record myself every time I do an audiobook or something like that, it can just be typed in my voice, and I don't have to do the work. So it's quite effortless. And I think this same concept translates to everything out there. With all technologies, automation can be used for the bad, and it can also be used for the good to extend human life, and so artificial technology and everything. It all depends on the values and the social context, kind of. And within today's social context and the world we live in today, this deep-based program is very dangerous and potentially can disrupt more things and confuse more people. And the same goes for AI and so on. So I think it's really important to focus on education and develop critical thinking about technology, and to focus on the environment that we're in, which then reinforces us to use the technology in whatever way it is then being used.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect summary for the end of the discussion.
Yeah,
Basically.
I agree. Okay, so we can go to the TROM news. We can check some, if we've got some questions.
So you switch to the TROM news?
I switched to the chat just to see any comments.
I know some people use TROM or books to educate. They use them in, I think it's in a university in Romania. It's a teacher. He uses them in a very well-known university there. Yeah, so I think it's great. I see a comment about that. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. He emailed me. He showed me. Yeah, he talks about this kind of subject with his students. It's a technology. It's a university based on technology.
Well, that's great.
Yep, it's interesting.
So, okay, we have one documentary to recommend on the topic of technologies. It's called Will Work for Free. It's on VideoNet. It's mainly about automatization, and it basically shows how everything in our world can be automated. The author basically just explores each section of the society and shows that what kind of automation can be there.
It's well documented.
And you two may tell about the TROM news.
Which one is first?
So about Chromium to weaken ad blockers.
So these are some news from TROM curated news. If you go to tromsci.com/news, you'll see lots of curated news. This one is an interesting one because Chrome, Chrome it's basically the main browser that is used worldwide. I mean, they have no competitor. And now because they have this power, they do all kinds of changes. And the last change makes it so hard, almost impossible for ad blockers to be installed on Chrome. And if you think about it, that's your window to the world. So it's kind of like a big move from them, but it's to be expected because people think that Google is a technology company. No, it's an advertising company. 90% of their profits are from advertising. You cannot call that an advertising technology company, So that's really fucked up. If you can read more if you go into the description. And another one is about the vaccines. Yeah, the World Health Organization. We talked about the misinformation thing, and now people say that, oh, vaccines are bad, don't vaccinate, blah, blah, blah. And it's true that because of our trade-based society, people are like, okay, I don't trust vaccines. Because 90% of the vaccines are financed through private means. So companies have a profit there to make from vaccines. But there are many kinds of organizations around the world that will say, no, we analyze this stuff and it's safe. So you have to filter out this kind of conspiracy from the. And in this situation, they created this conspiracy about that is becoming a global threat. Because one guy going into a room of 10 people with having one virus, it will spread to 10 people. So imagine that is a scale of 10, basically. So it's a problem.
Okay.
And the one about EFF. This is just to show you how crazy our world is. EFF it's defending people who are like bullied online, bullied from companies. And for example, one of their clients, he basically bought a website called collision.so, and because another company has a brand name for clothes called Collision, they sued this guy and said like, no, you bought a website that we have to own, which is crazy, it's just because of the name. Like, shut the fuck up, who are you to say, like? And they sued this guy, and they're defending this guy now because it's such a fucked up world with their trademarks. Another news is about Tom Brady. That's the one that you have in focus.
Yes.
It's a guy. I think it's a football star in US. I don't know the guy.
He's a football player.
It's a football player. Like, okay. So he released a book about diet, and it's just another example of how celebrities release all kinds of bullshit, shit like that to sell stuff, to make a profit. But this article debunks all of the crazy stuff that he puts in the book, like what you should eat, what you should not eat. Is like, you are a celebrity now and you release a book to make you even richer. Like, come on. It's like maybe $9.99 on Amazon or something like that. And I think we have two more news. One is about an Israeli company who claims to cure cancer in 1 year, which is a classic example of what happens when you put people in a trade-based society. They make these ludicrous claims and crazy shit like that. And these people are debunking them, like cancer is not one disease, to make such a crazy fucking claim. And they rely on profits, so they want investors. Okay. And you have one more from YouTube, which is interesting. I didn't know about this kind of thing. So on YouTube, you know that there are some companies who can claim your video and say, your video is mine because you have footage from me. And they managed to register with YouTube in such a way that they can claim videos. So let's say Sebastian makes videos online, and I say to Sebastian, this video is mine. I have the lawyers, I have the power. So YouTube will say, okay, Sebastian, bad behavior, don't put such videos again, because if you put them 2 times, we will remove your account, okay? You put again, I claim another video of yours, you are 2 strikes now, okay? And you, Sebastian, are panicking, you know, same company are on you for the footage. And they, look what they say. They send you an email and they say, give us 150 euros via PayPal, and we retract the claims. If not, we are going to put a 3rd claim and your YouTube is out. And they do this with small creators, and they get like 100 euros, 50 euros, 200 euros from people, which is fucking crazy, you know? And YouTube cannot do a thing because the system is broken. People are such. I didn't know about this, but
yeah, a lot of those claims are even false entirely.
false,
yeah, and there's no the big thing here is that YouTube could do something about this, but there's no penalty for falsely claiming somebody's video. So literally, you have these companies that exist and will even have users paid for like reporting so many people, and yeah, like just these companies existing just to cause a hassle, and actually people being actually like having all their content taken down unfairly, and YouTube's playing catch up because they go with whoever's claiming, whoever has the legal precedent. They're like, all right, you know, the video's coming down, and those could be the, you know, the first couple days is like the vital life force for your video to exist on YouTube, especially with how fast everything moves. And so even if it's just that inconvenience for the couple of days or whatever, it's you've already, the damage has already been done to you. And there's just no repercussions for the people who are actually doing the claims on the video when it's completely false. So that's a problem right there.
That's just another example of people in this case society, no matter what rules you put, they will break through these rules. Like just one really quick example, what people are uploading movies on YouTube, I don't know if you know, at a resolution that is huge, but they are like that,
yeah, the weird crops and zooms.
And if you put them
stuff
in VLC, for example, and they put the normal resolution, they will be like full movies. They are full movies on YouTube, and they are no machine can detect that, you know, because they are so squeezed. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's an arms race to get past the content ID system, and people want to share. Like that's what it comes down to. And I
think those people like to make profits because they make lots of views and they also sell shit.
That's true, but the AdSense, the way the AdSense works is basically if it trips that automated system, pretty much automatically whatever place that company has in whatever. I'm not sure about the super crop videos, how long those actually end up staying up, because YouTube has its own like, hey, report your friends and stuff for doing weird stuff, and kind of
like China.
yeah, little. It's the YouTube Heroes program. That was a big thing.
I said that many times before, but if Google were a country, you will say that it's worse than China or any other company. You don't see it right now because you say, it's a company. No, they do whatever they do, but they have billions of people under their belt.
Yep.
Yep. 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay, guys. It was a cool stream.
It worked, Dima. You could stream it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm stopping stream.
Okay. Bye, people.
See you later.
See ya.